legislature, but folks, fear's driving a bus that we need to get a hold of. The only thing that I fear is God. I do not fear our government because guess what? We are the government. We are not acting civilly disobedient. They are. They are not listening or honoring their oath every step of the way. We don't have to tell them to let us be free. We are free. You need to take your freedom. You need to exercise your freedom. It's like a muscle. It will atrophy if you don't exercise it. You need to get out there and go to work. Don't wait for them to tell you you can. They don't have the right. Do not write off the local races. Do not write off the city mayors. Do not write off the county commissioners. Because, folks, they've written you off, and they love to be able to tell folks that, well, the state says we have a mandate we have to follow. What a load of crap. They have no idea what their jobs are. Their job is to protect your individual rights. But in Kitsap County, like many other counties, what they end up doing is creating rights. They can't do that. Their job is to protect and maintain rights that already existed. Those are your rights under God, enumerated in the Constitution. But the counties have gotten busy and created rights. Do you know in Kitsap County, they created the right to enter your property without a warrant? Do they have the lawful authority to do that? Then it is not us being civilly disobedient. They are being disobedient, and it's our job to hold them to the fire. It is time you started putting people in those local races that anytime that Inslee or anybody else came to them and said, you have a mandate, that they told them to just take a hike, buddy, because I took an oath to uphold the individual rights of those within my community, and that's what I'm going to do. You need to make sure that your local sheriff understands his lawful authority. And with all due respect to those that have said, I heard a judge in the Freed case talk about the supreme law enforcement officer of the state being Inslee. That's garbage, folks. Your chief law enforcement officer is your local sheriff. But in our county, our sheriff bows to the state's will. Our commissioners bow to the will of the state. It's time for that to turn around. I am running not because I want this job, because I've looked for other people to hold this position. I am a strict constructionist constitutionalist. The document is what it is. It says what it says. It's not living, except that it has to be alive in our hearts and in your hearts, and you have to reach out and grab it. I have been the executive officer of Kitsap Rifle and Revolver Club for the last 20 years. I have been a National Rifle Association instructor and a training counselor. That's an instructor's instructor. And when I was teaching an instructor's class 20 years ago, someone from the prosecutor's office came in, took a rifle, and threatened I was going to go face down in the dirt, be cuffed, and go to jail and be booked. I said, bring it. I told my son, who was 13 at the time, that while I had the right to fight back physically as need be, that I still have to believe that we have a constitution that has force and effect, and that if we honor God and bow to Him only, that He will give us the strength and the courage to move forward. I never hired an attorney. I interviewed about 12 of them, and guess what I found? There aren't very many that know anything about the Constitution. So I boldly went forward on my knees before the Almighty and said, you're going to have to show me. I came down and I spent months in the law library we have down here and truly discovered what a wonderful form of government we have, and how unbelievably, it's been twisted, and people don't understand what their rights are. I went to the Secretary of State's office and said, I'd like to have a copy of the state constitution so I can use it in a court case, because I have individual rights. How many individuals do we still have here right now? Awesome, all of you. I had a judge tell me in court that your individual rights and that the fact that they're supposed to protect them is individual in a collective sense. Excuse me? Your Honor, are you new at this? When I asked the Secretary of State's office for a copy of that state constitution, they handed me a copy of the federal constitution. I said, can I have that? They said, yes, you can. I said, thank you very much. I'll keep that. But I really wanted the state constitution. And the sweet lady behind the kiosk said, the state has a constitution? I said, yeah, I think it's that bigger brown one right there next to where you got this one. She grabbed it and brought it up to me and went, oh. Oh, I knew we were in trouble. Folks, as with the federal constitution, the Bill of Rights was written a couple of years after, passed a couple of years after, almost as an afterthought. Look at your state constitution. Your rights are Article 1. It starts the document. It wasn't an afterthought. It's what we were founded on. And it is time that people got educated and got to know that you have the power. You don't have to ask them to set you free. You are free. Folks, I'm running because every time I look at my 8 grandchildren, my 3 children, 4 by marriage, I have no choice. It's my watch. It's your watch. I took the same oath many of you took to uphold and defend the Constitution against enemies foreign and domestic, and it has no expiration date. I have personally argued in the Court of Appeals on 2 occasions and have won at every step. I have personally argued in front of the state Supreme Court, and in one of the worst political decisions I've ever read, split decision, it went back. They came after me for over 13 years. At least 3 times, I grabbed my books and said, let's go. I'm ready for you to sit a jury. And they always had some scheduling issue or the reason they couldn't start trial. So finally, after 13 years, they dropped the case. Not before they filed a lawsuit against me. And they took that lawsuit on for 6 years, and they finally dropped that because every time I turned around, I'd said, let's get it in front of the people. Let's get it in front of a jury. I've asked judges in a courtroom to uphold to acknowledge that they have an oath to uphold the Constitution, and that oath applies to us and the individual case, and they've refused to do it. And the press hasn't covered it. Talk about fake media. Folks, I thank you for the opportunity. I thank the organizers for having this. Don't forget your local races. Go find out who's running for city council, for county commissioner, for your sheriff, and make sure they understand their job, and then get behind them and get them into position. Again, I'm Marcus Carter. Marcus at carterforkitsap.com is the website, or the email if you want to contact us. We'd appreciate it. God bless you all. Thank you.